Let's talk about Bing Chat again for a little bit longer and how it relates to Google Assistant. Android Authority just ran a really interesting poll here asking if people would consider switching from Google Assistant to the Bing Chat. And the results were very, very surprising to me. Would you ditch the Assistant for Bing? Only 28% said no, straight up no, I still prefer the Assistant. 42% of people said yes right away, and 29% said yes if it comes to smart speakers. That is a shocking result. I would have assumed that Google's Assistant was so well embedded that it was going to take a ton to start shaking people's confidence in it, but that does not appear to be the case. And I actually am in agreement with this poll result because it seems to me as though the Assistant has gotten, it's very strange, but it seems to me like it's gotten dumber and dumber over the last couple of years, where it used to be so very consistent with its answers and with doing what I expected it to do. As of late, it just does weird things for me all the time. I'll ask it, what the forecast will be at noon, and it's like, I don't know. It tells me it doesn't know what that means sometimes. Sometimes it does know what that means. I started testing it. Sometimes it knows. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes in the morning when I tell it good morning, because I have a routine that it turns on all of my lights that I use during the day, turns off an air conditioner that I use to sleep at night. And sometimes when I tell it good morning, it thinks I'm my wife for some reason. Like, there's all these weird things that it's begun doing over the last couple of years that it never used to do. And honestly, I'm open to the idea of trying something different. Although the fact that Bing Chat does not have or even attempt to have any sort of home control stuff is going to be a big barrier of entry for a lot of people like myself. You're going to wind up using two different assistants, Google Assistant plus Bing Chat for, queries, Google Assistant for home control, and like I said, Bing Chat for queries. So in this video, what I'm going to try to kind of suss out here is which assistant software does a better job when it comes to answering questions. So I'm going to have Google Assistant and Bing Chat both open. We're going to ask them both questions back and forth and see which one gives the more reasonable answer. Again, queries only. So we're going to open up Bing on one screen, the Assistant on the other. Now, an important distinction here is that I could use the hotkey, the hot word. I could say, hey, and that would trigger the Assistant. I actually keep that turned off on my phone because the speakers around me will pick it up and then they get very confused. If I say, hey, text such and such, my phone will hear it, but my speaker will answer and tell me that it can't do it, but the phone could have, but it didn't let the phone. And I guess new speakers apparently don't do that. But anyway, so I keep it turned off on my phone. But you could leave that turned on and make that easier to get to the Assistant. You could also do the little swipe up from the corner to more quickly get into the Assistant. It's more baked into the operating system. With Bing Chat, you have to open up the Bing app, click on the little chat button that's down here at the bottom. If I can make this go away real quick, I can show you the little Bing button down here, and that's how you're going to do it. Now for this, I'm going to leave it on more balanced. You can go more precise or more creative. I'm going to leave it on balanced, just the default setting for now, and we'll go from there. What's the forecast for today?
Today's forecast for Knoxville is 65 degrees and sunny.
Very quick answer, nice little graphic. You've got the hour-to-hour temperature. Really, really solid answer. What's the forecast for today? Obviously, this is obviously what Bing is doing is much slower. It takes it a lot longer. I'm going to stop it if I can there. So it goes on and gives me a forecast for Madison, Wisconsin, for New York, New York. It doesn't seem to fully understand that I just want Knoxville, but it does give me the answer, and it gives me a very similar readout here through, I guess that's probably through Bing or something like that. But it gives me, the answer to the question, but it took longer and it gave me some information that I did not need. Let's ask it a bit more of a specific question. How big is the average Australian Shepherd? And in this instance, it did not give me any sort of a vocal response. It simply just gave me the search result. Now, let me make sure that it does this even when you trigger it as the normal assistant. How big is the average Australian Shepherd?
An adult adult male Australian Shepherd weighs between 23 and 29 kilograms, and an adult female Australian Shepherd weighs between 14 and 20 kilograms.
Okay, so what we're going to assume moving forward here is that things like this bit of information up here would typically be read out if it were triggered by the assistant, but the result is likely to be the same. So it just gave me straight up numerical answers there. How big is the average Australian Shepherd?
Searching for average Australian Shepherd size.
Obviously, again, much slower process for Bing Chat. Okay, so this is actually interesting. So Google just gave us the weight span there between a male and a female. The Bing Chat gave us the height and the weight, but didn't differentiate between the two different sexes of the two. And then Bing also gave me how old they'll be when they reach their adult size. So in this instance, Bing gave me way more information. And another important thing about Bing Chat here is that it gives you citations, right? It gives you these numbers you could click on that would show you where it's getting this data from, whereas Google does not. It just kind of says this is the answer, but it's not going to tell you how it came to this conclusion. So overall right now, 2 questions in, Google is much faster, Bing is more detailed so far. Sometimes that detail is to its own detriment. It's too much detail. It's detail that I did not want or need. Sometimes it's good detail. Now let's ask it a question that I don't think Google Assistant is going to have any idea what to do with, but Bing Chat will. What would be a good video topic for the YouTuber Shane Craig? It found me, it found my videos, and has no idea what to do with that. What would be a good video subject for the YouTuber Shane Craig? And we'll just kind of read through these quickly. A review of the latest Windows 11 update and its new features. I made that video. A comparison of different foldable devices and how they perform in different scenarios. I've made that video. A tutorial on how to use ChatGPT to generate interesting content for YouTube videos. I'm making that video right now in a roundabout way. A road trip through Knoxville, Tennessee, where he lives and showing off some cool places. That's actually a pretty cool idea. A Q&A session with his subscriber. I mean, that's an answer, and it's actually a good answer to that question. And this is where this service, this is where it absolutely is astonishing to me. And I think that this is kind of what I can continue to hammer home for quick, simple questions like, how many days until Christmas?
Christmas in the United States of America is in 293 days.
The assistant is going to be very, very quick, and it's going to give you the right answer. Whereas Bing Chat, how many days until Christmas, is going to take a really long time to answer this question.
Searching for days until Christmas.
And it's probably going to give me a longer answer than is required.
Christmas is on Monday, December 25th, 2023.
I mean, that's a perfect example. It's going to take many times longer, and it's going to say some stuff that it probably doesn't need to say in the interest of being conversational. So for quick little things like that, Google Assistant is going to be your better way to go. But when you're asking it an actual question, like a hard question, there are times that Google Assistant truly does feel like a very, very dumb assistant, like a brain dead assistant. And Bing Chat actually feels like it's giving you a well thought out and referenced answer. I think this is the biggest thing to consider though. We know that those quick answers are better with Google. We know the home control is infinitely better with Google. We know that the bigger questions are better with Bing, but it has no home control, and the short questions take way, way, way too long. So what's more likely? That Bing suddenly gets really good at home control and short questions to the degree that Google is, or Google just adds their Bard AI and starts doing effectively a really similar thing to what Bing is already doing, and they add that to their quick answers and their home control. I think that is far more likely. Bing has stepped up to an early lead in this very narrow way, which is very useful, right? But Google could launch Bard, their version of this, and catch up in fairly short order. Now, Bing is also integrated into their web browser, and they're trying to do lots of integrations with Bing, which I am using almost on a daily basis to take news articles and condense them, find summaries of news articles, generate those summaries for myself on the fly. So that stuff is going to happen too. Bing has been smart. Microsoft has been smart with what they're doing with Bing so far to integrate it and make it more useful, because what I find is, and what I think that they're expecting, is that as I use it in Edge to summarize articles, I'm more likely to then turn around and use it on my phone too, because I'm getting used to using it. Now, I know someone's probably going to ask me, why am I not just using regular Bing voice search for the smaller things? Because that should be quicker. Well, there's two reasons. One, because that means I'm using two different versions of Bing to do things, and that's going to get a little bit complicated, whereas Google Assistant is only one thing. And then, but two, in the Bing app, if I click on the little microphone, it's just going to take me straight into the chat thing anyway. So the only way that I can use the regular Bing voice chat would be, I think, to go to their website. What's the forecast for tomorrow? And then that's still popping up over the top. That gave you that quicker answer. Even if you use their widget, the widget is now going to launch into Bing Chat, which is a good thing because it's making it quicker and easier to get into. But it's bad in the sense that, again, it will be quicker for those quick questions if it knew which one to use, right? If it was like, oh, for the weather, we should just do that quick thing and not waste all this time. For bigger questions, we can waste time and get like a really good proper answer. Right now, it's not smart enough to kind of know what to do between those two. Let me see if I can wrap this up at least somewhat succinctly. As an overall package, an overall product, I think Google Assistant is still better because it does the most important things more quickly. But what Bing Chat is doing is so revolutionary and so interesting and so useful, Google is going to have to respond and do their own thing as well. When is that going to happen? How good is it going to be? How good is Bing going to be by the time that happens? That's all up in the air. But I do think that Google stands a better chance of catching up in the AI chat realm than Bing does of getting as good as Google at home control and getting those quick questions answered rapidly. All that being said, this is the most exciting that the assistant wars have been for me in many, many years. I'm actually living in a world where for some things I'm using Google Assistant, but for other things, I'm turning to Bing Chat to get answers to questions, to pull context from pages. And that is something that if you'd have told me 6 months ago, I probably would not have believed you that I was actually using Bing. So that is pretty cool in and of itself. Guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.